Hello there.
Take 7 of the introduction of 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss for the July 4th, 2023 episode. I just want to get this nailed. I want to turn the AC back on. So this is CatBusRuss, and unfortunately I did not get a guest lined up for this week's episode. But, that is to be expected. I just came back from England, so my hours are all weird. And never mind, it's July 4th. Who really has the time when there's fireworks? So, am I disappointed? Not really. Or at least I'm more disappointed at HostGator. But, by the time we get to next week's episode, I'll be cooled down from that, hopefully. So I digress with all of that. And it'd be great to get a guest lined up for the July 18th episode of the show. And if you want to be that guest, offer me a movie, director, theme, actor, and send it to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. And let's make up a slice of fried podcast gold. This week, in honor of 4th of July, I figure it's a great time to pay homage to some great Americans and also move another episode over from the original 90forchill.com, the podcast feed, over to the current feed I like to use, 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss. And those two American heroes, well, Henry Rollins is probably the most American of Americans, in my opinion. So we'll go over his filmography, primarily focusing on He Never Died, probably his greatest performance, with my good friend Kodiak Thompson. I hope he's doing well. And then we'll talk about the man who saved the world in 1996, Jeff Golblum, and some of his sub-100-minute movies with The Poetic Critic. That's The Poetic Critic on Letterboxd. So with this coming up on 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I better wrap it up. Thanks again for coming to 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss. Thank you, Stacia Harden, for keeping an eye on me over the last 19 years. And I hope you're squeezing the hell out of the one-eared angel, Skimbleshanks. Thanks again for coming to 90 for Chill, the podcast.
This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy!
Thanks for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast. This is your host, CatBusRuss, and this episode is going to be another, I would say mega, but this was before I really figured out how Zoom worked and the fees and what have you. So this is only going to be probably an hour 40 at best. Not one of those 3-hour ones, so it's not too difficult. And we're going to cover a couple of actors who I think have had a pretty significant impact on this podcast. Those would be Jeff Goldblum, the Poetic Critic's favorite, and Henry Rollins from, of course, Black Flag, the Rollins band. But the film that got him a podcast with us would be He Never Died, and it's probably Kodiak Thompson's favorite movie, and that's how I got him on the show. So we'll go over these two actors' sub-100-minute filmographies. And I should say, with the Jeff Goldblum, I set the standard at 97 minutes for the podcast, but we have expanded that, so there is an Earth Girls Are Easy episode as well. So thanks for checking out the show, and if you want to be a guest on it, send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor. As long as we focus on sub-100-minute material, I think we'll have a slice of fried gold. So thanks again for coming to 90 for Chill, the podcast, and enjoy the show.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Maybe you should join us for a ride. Get out of my house.
How are you doing today, Jack?
We need to talk.
Do you have anything aside from being ambiguous and hostile?
Hi.
Hello? Who's in?
You never mentioned the daughter.
We just met a few hours ago.
So what do you want to do today?
Bingo.
Plenty.
You're kind of out there, aren't you?
Get out!
Jack, I was beginning to think that you just crawled out of the ground.
I was shocked to find out you had a kid. They have Andrea.
Why is he looking at me like that?
What are you doing? Have you seen a young lady with a lip ring in here today?
What she look like?
A young lady with a lip ring. Hey! Are you Derek? Yeah, motherfucker.
How old are you?
I have no idea, but I'm in the Bible if that means anything. I'm known as King.
Probably just gonna go kill another room full of people. You are?
Probably.
Come on!
I'm getting you out of here. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you apart and eat you. It's not because I want to, but I have to. Let me die!
All right, so it says we're recording. So this, of course, is 90forchill.com, the podcast. And the topic this week is Henry Rollins, sub 100 minute library, at least theatrically. And I've brought in Kodiak Thompson as my guest. How are we doing over there?
Doing pretty well. Sitting here getting to talk about one of my favorite topics, so it works out pretty well.
Well, very cool. I mean, we've pretty much got to really connect, I think, at our day job over the Henry Rollins, probably his finest film, I would say so far. He Never Died.
Definitely my favorite movie. It's what attracted me to this idea in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's definitely. I don't think it was my first year I did the blog. I don't think it was my top pick. I think I know it wasn't, but as I say, of discovering movies. So in 2019, that's when I found it. I would say that I mean, it had to be up pretty close to the top of that list. The Mark Hamill feature, Brigby Bear, actually was the number one, about a kid who's kidnapped at the hospital and raised by Mark Hamill and another nutty mathematician. And to make sure he focuses pretty much on just that little world, they create they have him grow up in the concept of a post-apocalyptic world where the only communications through VHS tapes, and Mark Hamill's character goes through the trouble of building the kid a children's show with basically an Disney character, Disneyland character sized Teddy Ruxpin, basically. And that's just the premise. Eventually, of course, the authorities finally catch up with them. So it's about that kid adjusting to the world and still being obsessed with that TV show.
Yeah, that'd be a bit of an adjustment, let's just say.
Yes. But I mean, when we're talking about adjustments, I mean, He Never Died is pretty much about either adjusting or just totally giving up on the concept.
Yeah, eventually when you've been around that long, you can't care anymore. Like,
so I would say this is pretty much Henry Rollins' really only lead acting role I know of. He's had some starring and he's been billed before, but
never so much in the limelight as that movie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And on another note for it, it's definitely a contrasting role compared to his others. a lot of the times you see him as this very loud, outgoing, or even like in Feast that I've just seen, thanks to you actually, a motivational speaker. In this role, he just deadpans everything.
Well, it really kind of reminds me of his old show on IFC because, yeah, he might have a monologue, but otherwise he's pretty mellowed out guy. I mean, you can always check out his spoken word stuff. I actually introduced my ex-girlfriend Allie to one of his Comedy Central appearances on a show called This Isn't Happening. I think that may have had 2 seasons at best. Like, we're talking midnight spot after At Midnight or the Wilmore Show.
Those things when you fall asleep with the TV on and you're not sure if it was a fever dream or something that actually happened.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and that bit on worth looking up. I think it's called a Punk Rock Hyenas or something, but it's basically about his first trip on acid and really just getting to know the drug culture of LA after moving from DC to be the front man of Black Flag.
That's something I'm gonna have to look up. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube.
Punk Rock Hyenas.
So, but as I say, I can't immediately think of how they, but yeah, or Henry Rollins acid, that probably is a good enough search as well. But truthfully, growing up in a town that's pretty uptight, 37 churches was our claim to fame besides the pumpkin capital of the world, Morton, Illinois. I really had no clue about punk music. I mean, I was at one point the ideal conservative, I guess. Like, what do you mean NoFX is a great band? Good bands sell out. So, yeah, needless to say, I did a lot of growing up right out of high school. But so the first thing I ever really was exposed to from Henry Rollins was The Chase on a weird night where a bunch of friends got together to celebrate Mortal Kombat 2 being released for the Super Nintendo. Like, we had 3 Super Nintendos in the basement of this guy's place playing the game, but we also had 2 different movies running and pretty much on repeat. One of them was The Chase, which kept my attention, where Henry Rollins plays a cop who's happens to be on Cops, basically. And he's really trying to oversell how awesome it is being a cop. So
talk about contrasting roles.
Yeah. I mean, the middle ground, I guess, would be Spider from Johnny Mnemonic, which is a movie a little too long for the podcast, but it's basically Spider is a doctor in a world where, of course, everybody's doing implants mechanically and stuff to themselves, post-apocalypse. I mean, the entire plot is based around Keanu Reeves being a courier with a hard drive in his brain. And at that time, 250 megabytes was considered a lot. And the things he's smuggling in his brain happens to be about a gig. So if he doesn't get it out in 24 hours, his head explodes. And that's where he eventually finds Spider, who's a doctor trying to find a cure for the plague that's going on. I mean, rather timely now when you stop and think about it. I mean, with COVID and all the chaos around it, you kind of want a tattooed up survivalist as your doctor, I would think. Or at least that's what I'm looking for in a new doctor.
I mean, I think I'd let Henry Rollins operate on me either way, just to say that I had it happen.
Yeah. So yeah, but I guess let's get back to really describing He Never Died. That's basically, I guess you'd say Henry Rollins is an immortal cannibal who's pretty much just fed up with living without being able to die.
Despite his best efforts from the sounds of everything.
Yes. Yeah, and I guess you get the little you get some ideas that maybe he'll finally go back to reality. He finds he has a daughter, and there's a waitress that just can't help but be attracted
All
to
those rugged good looks.
Yes. Lots of bingo in the film. Aside from fighting off loan sharks, I think it was. It's been a while since I watched it. I didn't binge it to come into this podcast. What I did watch recently, I watched two recently. I wanted to find The Last Heist, but of course I decided to buy Feast in HD digitally. So
Man, that movie was a riot, just going through things.
I mean, how can you not want to watch a movie where Jason Mewes gets his face ripped off in the first 10 minutes?
You know, that was, in my opinion, one of the funniest parts, is that all over this, everything I look up, I'm seeing Jason Mewes as some of the top billing. You see him pop up with this stylized job and everything, and he's not even playing a character.
Yes.
His character's name is Jason Mewes, and then just immediately dies.
Yeah, it's very meta, the film. I mean, you kill a kid in the first, and the fun is they post pretty much, okay, these are strict, your basic horror tropes, your stock characters, the hero, the badass, the scumbag,
Early mom.
yeah, the kid. Surely they're not going to kill him. I think they list in his little still frame.
I think his life expectancy was long and hopeful.
Yes.
Something along those lines.
I mean, Judith Freelander is excellent in it. Henry Rollins, that's your standard motivational speaker role. He seems to get a lot. And when you look at his spoken word, I mean, you can't help but kind of feel motivated. I've seen a couple of his specials, one where he just goes on a rant like, if we were just leaflet Palestine and Israel with I can't remember the punk band, maybe it was the Ramones CDs, wait for the apocalypse to come, and once they realize they're both jamming out to I Want to Be Sedated Before the Battle, they'll come to their senses.
An old quote that I've seen of his that fundamentally changed the way that I look at how I actually do things with life. I can't remember the exact wording for it, but the shorthand is, and I'm of course in my head, this is in his wonderful deadpan from He Never Died, which makes up 90% of my Henry Rollins consumption at this point. It basically came down to, there is no work time, there is no free time, there's only time. Go. To this iteration of, you can't set aside your goals for certain times. Everything that you do should be towards that, whether it's at your job, whether it's in your personal time, that you shouldn't be segregating whether or not you're moving forward with your life by what you're doing in these blocks. And that was always something that seemed pretty profound to me with him.
Well, I mean, he's, I can't think of too many immediate inspirational stuff. Maybe it's just the song "Liar's" always going to be in the back of my skull when I think about Rollins, which is probably pretty much the first song I ever heard from him. And then before Black Flag, and I mean, even when I finally got to hear Black Flag, I think the first song I heard by him was "TV Party." So, which is from the Repo Man movie, which is a classic I haven't gotten around to. Emilio Estevez, Harry Dean Stanton, and a lot of people say it inspired the briefcase bit from Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
yeah, like opening the trunk, seeing a weird glow come out of it. And then in that clip, I see it vaporizes a cop, but not quite Marcellus Wallace's soul. But
Oh, the wonderful things that they hide in the scripts that we never get to read.
yes. So with Feast, I don't know. Is there any character you'd really want to see make it through to the end? I mean, you want to see some survivors.
Yeah, somebody. I'm not a big fan of the horror movies where at the end of it everyone dies, because the feeling always comes to me of, dead men tell no tales. Where does the story come from? But there's a couple of characters in there that like you want to pull through, and you see for lack of a better word, you see the protagonist role switch between these couple as it moves up.
Oh
And you
yeah.
just keep wanting someone to make it out, and then they just keep dying. And
Well, spoiler for Feast 3. They pretty much all die by the end of that. That movie gets very meta. I mean, even Feast 2 gets pretty meta, but Feast 3, they do it all. I mean, they do it all in the name of comedy, but like basically the last scene before our only survivor, which would catch the viewers of the first film by surprise.
yeah, did a
Before
little bit of reading just to brief myself on it.
I'm sorry.
Said I did a little bit of reading just to
Oh,
brief myself on the
yeah.
other two, so I get where you're coming from.
Right. Basically, it all ends just so they can have a bunch of mariachis just sing the story of the films in Spanish. But I can say Feast is what basically sold me on getting into the Saw movies, because the writers ended up writing the episode, the episodes 4 through 7, after James Wan and I can't remember the other guy's name, and he's actually becoming quite the director, who's done Upgrade and The Invisible Man. So but Upgrade, I think, would have been a movie, which is a really great movie. Could have been upgraded with Henry Rollins, though.
I mean, on that same token of English, anything with Henry Rollins could be an upgrade.
Well, I mean, that's why I guess that's why Heat is the heist movie, because you do have Henry Rollins as, I believe it's I can't remember the name of the actor. He plays the pretty much stuck playing the villain in a lot of movies. I recall, if you've seen the movie Drive Angry, he's the guy trying to bring Nick Cage back to hell.
Yep.
So,
even speaking of his villain roles, even as something recently as you and I watched Dreamland.
Yes, that is that movie is a trip.
I at one point I paused the movie and I went and checked my temperature to make sure that what I was seeing was not hallucinations, because that movie was something.
Well, yeah, I mean, it starts out with Henry Rollins basically sending a hitman to kill pretty much the child traffickers from Germany and Egypt, just so he could become the Luxembourg's top child trafficker. And then, you get the little 40 style outfits on the children assassins. I mean, you got vampires. You've pretty much got every kind of deplorable human being in one place, regardless of their differences, which results in a pretty awesome finale. I mean,
definitely one thing that you didn't see coming with that. Wasn't expecting the like supernatural tones in that one either. That kind of kind of showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's kind of they try to do a parallel lives thing between the hitman Stephen McHattie, who's probably best known for a horror movie I haven't seen myself yet, Pontypool, which is I believe along the lines of a zombie outbreak film, but basically what's contaminating everybody and turning them into monsters is the language. Like certain words are contagious or something. And I think it kind of centers around, well, you have Stephen McHattie as a right-wing shock jock, so obviously he's not gonna give up his freedom of speech. And who knows if he's actually fueling the apocalypse.
Interestingly enough, just brushing up on Pontypool a little bit here, supposedly Dreamland is actually a spin-off of it. Like their same universe.
That is very trippy. This is the Canadian Cloverfield, I guess.
I mean, especially in such an interesting way that Stephen McHattie already played 2 roles in Dreamland, which now means that in this universe of Pontypool, Stephen McHattie exists as 3 separate people.
Yeah, that is definitely a little. Yeah, I didn't. That explains a lot, honestly. Now the vampire angle, that is the real kicker. And then you even got it seeming like it's a Cersei Lannister Jaime type thing going on with Juliette Lewis. But the real charm of Henry Rollins' performance, I think, is, yeah, he's totally unhinged until the supernatural elements come in for him with the vampire. And then it's kind of like he stops and like, okay, this is a crazy I don't understand. And his character is kind of just like trying to adjust the rest of the film, and you kind of, I don't want to say empathize or sympathize with him. I mean, but we're kind of going on the same trip, so.
The actor who plays the Countess's brother, just called the Count, I think he's listed in the credits literally just as vampire. Looks like it's Tommaso Marquis.
I know he was he was in X-Men Apocalypse.
Okay.
As I can't remember the name. Caliban,
it looks like.
Yeah, he's basically dealing with just making underground deals for the mutants in that movie. X-Men Apocalypse, it might be worth a watch if you're a fan of the franchise. I just say you're not missing anything though if you skip that one.
Interestingly enough, also in the Blade Runner 2045.
Oh yeah,
as well as Snowpiercer. Actually,
I have not watched Snowpiercer, and now it's like more pressure to watch it now than ever because I watch AEW wrestling every Wednesday night, and of course all TNT has right now otherwise is Snowpiercer. I mean, and the NBA, but it's not the, all I can say is people dunk too much now. Like,
I should specify, it looks like he has just a bit role in the film Snowpiercer rather than the TV show.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, well,
routine.
Everybody, I mean, it's Bong Joon-ho who directed Snowpiercer, and he just cleaned up at the Oscars with Parasite. So of course everybody who's seen it, oh, you have to see Snowpiercer. And now with the TV show, which I hear is definitely not on par with the film, it's kind of like, well, I need to see Snowpiercer the movie before I see even give the show a chance.
I think that it might fall into the classic pitfall when they trying to expand things of the source material is perfect for a film for your 90-minute runtime, like we said for the podcast here. But when you stretch that out into 8 hours.
Well, on the flip side, though, Snowpiercer was based off I believe it was based off a manga.
Oh.
Or maybe a Korean comic book, or it might have even been French. I heard about this from a podcast called Screen Drafts, and they had where they pick like the top 7 movies of certain genre, and the podcast that was on was comic book movies non-superhero. And Snowpiercer, I think, made it up to number 3, maybe 2. I don't think it was number 1, but so when you're based off a comic book, honestly, you've probably got more. Maybe Snowpiercer's the film is actually just condensing everything.
I can see that
because it looks like the big bad character was just introduced at the end of Snowpiercer from what I've heard, and now it looks like he's just introduced at the beginning of the second season or the end of the first season. It's Sean Bean, so that actually is probably more of a selling point than, oh, I got to catch up on things. But I was a big Game of Thrones fan, and before that, 007, GoldenEye, Ronin. He plays the guy who faked his way into the crew. It's Robert De Niro movie.
Lord of the Rings, of course.
Oh yes, which reminds me of the other movie I watched recently with Henry Rollins was Wrong Turn 2. That was like a freebie when I signed up, created a Vudu account. They like gave me 8 movies, and Wrong Turn 2 was one of them, and seems to have been better received by than the first film. I mean, it's about Henry Rollins is an ex-Marine colonel who's hosting a Survivor, basically, except they're making it look like it's the end of the world. And, when you know it, they decide to shoot it in West Virginia where there's mutated cannibals.
As you typically find in your suburban neighborhoods.
Yeah. So, you don't really want to, I don't know. In an apocalypse, do you want to be in suburbia or do you want to be in the woods?
I can go off on a whole tangent here, but I promise we don't have enough time.
Well, it's funny because I just oh shoot, I never did anything on Zoom until I started doing this as a podcast. This was basically an attainable New Year's resolution on my behalf. My typical New Year's resolution is eating something buffalo themed every day. Usually it ends around mid-January just by accident, but made it to the 29th of February last year. So but I kept hearing Zoom advertising, oh, we're waiving the 40-minute rule on meetings for the holidays. And like, oh great, I only have 40 minutes to play with. This podcast is too new. We're not going to be making that Blue Chew money yet. So, and then I'm online today, like, oh, what is really the deal about Zoom? And I find out, oh, you can have unlimited time talking one-on-one meetings. It's group meetings where they start charging you. So, not to say that I think Joe and I didn't cover everything Saw related in our podcast, but so time really isn't a concern, at least on my end now.
Okay.
But I still need to get that Blue Chew money at some point, though. Spent yesterday stopping in, delivering you the DVD. Ended up spending $200 on a podcast recorder and another microphone. So
definitely hands off. The microphone's clear as day.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that, because it's the cheaper Snowball. I'm not using the Zoom recorder yet because it's actually separate from the computer, so wouldn't really help us in a Zoom different Zoom brands, a Zoom meeting. But
I feel like ever since everybody went work from home and such, that there have been quite a few Zoom impersonators.
well, I've known about the Zoom podcast recording equipment way before I knew about the like, I thought Skype was supposed to be your meeting thing, and I don't know how they screwed up that during the pandemic.
That's true. I think a lot of it was even their infrastructure. People were saying that like Skype just could not handle the load.
Oh,
I think I read an article about that at one point.
huh. Well,
Like, that's the industry name.
yeah.
Skype.
Yep. I mean, Skype is pretty much the same, like, is tape for millennials, basically.
Yeah.
Which, so with Wrong Turn 2, speaking of millennials, no, it's more, I'd say more Gen X, but what have you. It is, for the most part, a bunch of stock characters you don't mind seeing get brutally murdered by cannibals. Henry Rollins gets some good bits, and why I bring it up is that he has a death that tops Boromir when it comes to sacrifice in that feature. Very similar to Boromir's, but so spoiler, some archery involved, but
go wrong with archery related deaths. They're either
there's another good one in that. I mean, you get maybe you do, like, the characters you do end up liking are worth liking. But man, the ones that you're not supposed to care about, they really go to new lengths to make you not care about them, and or take joy in their face being used during a sex act. Not
that was one thing I wasn't expecting out of Feast. Just the sporadic assaults that you catch from the monsters throughout the movie, and not really something that I had panned out. Definitely had just spread out just enough that it wasn't making me concerned for the film if it was going to continue popping up, but enough that it still gave that shock for just a minute of like, did I really just watch that happen?
Yes. Oh well, I mean, the biker girl.
Yeah.
That's oh geez, now I'm just thinking about what happened to biker girl before the explosion.
Yeah, the spit take, we'll refer to it as.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
Pardon me, but I would like to interrupt this current podcast just in the event that we did not get our Stuart Gordon insertion completed at the appropriate time. So bear with us, and we'll be back with our regularly scheduled podcast. It's been a few hours, but I watched Dagon so that 90forchill.com can have its weekly Stuart Gordon fix. This film has to be the most Lovecraftian project I've ever seen. Now, Reanimator and From Beyond are Lovecraft adaptations by Stuart Gordon, but again, those are simple stories really that don't really go beyond the initial premise. Dr. West creates a serum, the dimensional machine acts up and decapitates the inventor right off the bat in From Beyond. It's kind of very cool to see a film that is Lovecraft through and through. Like, this is something that was totally fleshed out with keeping Lovecraft in mind, not just being expanding upon a short story. It feels like it's a long novel. Perhaps I should read some Lovecraft. Perhaps I want to avoid those problems. The CGI effects in this film about a society that swore their fate to the sea god Dagon to ensure gold and plentiful fish has now become a society that's going to have to go into the water, and they need sacrifices to keep Dagon happy. So our new millionaire, Paul, and his significant other, Barbara, are on a boat off the Spanish coast where they run ashore and eventually all end up captured. And Barbara's fate that she'll be the mother to Dagon's latest offspring, while Paul has to deal with the fact he's obsessed with this tentacled mermaid that keeps showing up in his dreams. As I said, CG's a little off, but used sparingly enough that it still catches you off the guard. The best body horror Cronenberg type thing, I would say, would be the actual flaying of some man's face. I thought that looked pretty cool. The acting is solid. It's fun that they pretty much don't subtitle the Spanish in this film. It's definitely worth your time and gives you a new look on what Ariel should be.
Hold on to your butts.
That's a fun thing. Like they have a lot of good things for the sequel, at least a lot of good premises. Tit girl, tat girl, biker girl's twin sister.
Which was a great thing to happen. Great way to just include those characters from the original. Just, yes, I am her twin.
Yeah. Yeah, very John Woo, Chow Yun Fat, what was it? A Better Tomorrow, I guess. Like Chow Yun Fat was so popular in the first film, they just had to bring him back. So it's his twin brother.
We always joke in the Dungeons and Dragons groups that we play in that as soon as one character dies, they just write Junior on their character sheet and keep playing with them.
Well, gosh, I mean, how many generations of Mario are there?
Oh wow.
I mean, once you hit that turtle into that little corner and get the 99 one-ups.
I don't have a good answer for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
we're just going to go with the mathematically correct answer of more than a few.
Yes. Yeah. Less than infinity, greater than one.
Exactly.
Oh, so yeah, otherwise, Henry Rollins, I mean, he's done a lot of I mean, I'd say most of his work does fit that fit the time frame that of 90 for Chill, the 75-minute basement, the 100-minute ceiling. I mean, he did, as I say, Johnny Mnemonics a few minutes over. Heat is a 3-hour movie, but
that's pretty much 90 minutes right there, right?
Yeah. So, but you've seen She Never Died. I haven't seen that one myself. It just really seemed like, and I've had the whenever I've tweeted out my review for linked for my review for He Never Died on 90forchill.com. I occasionally every so often the director goes and gives me a like at least on it. But I don't know. I saw what iTunes offered as a trailer for She Never Died. It really looked like they were just going to more, dare I say, just base premise on that.
So for me, when it comes to He Never Died, and again, this is a bit of a spoiler alert. With who Henry Rollins' character actually is, being Kane.
Well, that's the first documented.
Yeah. That was a really pleasant surprise. Like, it wasn't the core of the movie. It was something that it didn't feel thrown in, but it was like, oh, okay, cool. That explains this, and it's great for that. But but they didn't revolve the entire movie around that fact.
Okay.
Whereas in She Never Died, I love He Never Died, the first one. The second one I was honestly kind of disappointed in because everything in the movie revolved around who she was as a character rather than the actual story that's occurring. And a lot of it seemed just really heavy handed, just shoved in there.
It's, well, it sounds like it might have been He Never Died. She Never Died might have been what the director wanted. He Never Died though is just a pleasant surprise of what he had available, being Henry Rollins.
Yeah. I think that's accurate.
Yeah. So but
I'm still quite sad that there for quite a while there was talks about doing a mini series with Henry Rollins reprising his role as Jack from He Never Died, and I just don't think it ever panned out. But I would have loved to see that. Oh man,
no, that's something on a podcast called The Rewatchables where they ask at one point, do you think this movie could have been a 10 episode Netflix series? And I mean, this is pretty much an adult, well, not to say that Highlander the series was intended for children, but
beheadings all around. Definitely great for my 4-year-old.
yeah, well, you don't see the beheadings on the TV show.
That's fair. We'll do the Batman treatment and just give him a flash of light every time.
Yeah, no, pretty much. Like, I mean, you look at the TV show was awesome because you look at the guest stars they had. They had Roddy Piper. They had Ron Perlman. I don't know how they got that one. Well, it was 1997, so I think the biggest thing he was just about to be in Alien Resurrection, and otherwise, I think the biggest thing he was in, really, he was doing a lot of foreign work. Guillermo del Toro's Mexican films, and he was in Janae and Caro's City of Lost Children, which is, I mean, just a magnificent film. Real nightmare fuel. Definitely not for children, but it's just so fairy tale like. You could see why my best friend named her kid after the lead little girl in that feature. I don't know. I think just Europe never caught on to the American idea that children are children, not little adults, which I guess you could say goes back to Dreamland with your little children gangsters.
Yeah.
So, but let's see. Trying to think more of Henry Rollins when it comes to 90-minute features. I mean, there honestly are quite a few. I did see some others on iTunes. I'm just trying to find a way to watch The Last Heist. Didn't seem to really score well on the meta score on IMDb, but I mean, the movie's Henry Rollins. I don't know if he's the character I want him to be in it, but the description is a bunch of guys try to rob a bank, turns into a hostage situation, and one of the hostages happens to be a serial killer picking them off. So, like,
it's a heck of a premise.
Yeah, so it's like if Henry Rollins is a serial killer, that's gold. But I imagine he's probably the calm guy.
Trying to think of anything else that, like, I know that I went into his voice acting work a little bit, and that was kind of an interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cora was the big one, I think.
I do, on the note of Cora, I do have to laugh a little bit that the character that they had him play, of course, Zahir. A lot of the other characters, like, they don't match the physical appearance of their voice actors. And then there's a here in Henry Rollins where they basically, it looks like just traced a photo of him, honestly.
Yeah, you get a lot of that, especially with the series that I mean, it was really just a spin-off of Avatar, if I'm correct. I'm not.
The sequel.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I come to, I mean, I never really watched the series just because I'm probably 8 to 10 years older than you, and it's basically took so much time of my life in high school buying VHS tapes of anime.
Yeah.
To see an American inspired concept of it just kind of felt disingenuous, but I mean, nobody's ever said a bad thing about the series, so just M. Night Shyamalan's bastardization of it. With that being said, I think that's the lesson: is if you're cool and niche, do not get near M. Night Shyamalan. I don't want to see Henry Rollins get caught one of his twists.
What a horrific idea that is. Let's just avoid that.
Yes. So with that said, well, I don't think we have too much to do except the most important parts of podcasts, which are plugs and upcoming events. So do you have anything going on social media wise? I know Joe had his Twitch. I know he does his art.
Honestly, this is kind of my first foray into the podcasting world. Most of what I do is storytelling through D&D, things of that measure, but not a lot of that's public yet. Kind of just getting my feet wet in the world.
All right. Well, keep in mind, there's like a big market for D&D inspired podcasts.
I see a lot of them, and
playing it.
They are going to start recording.
Yeah, definitely. I know I think there's no rules barred, a wrestling one. But yeah. Otherwise, me, I'm on 90forchill.com is where you can find the podcast. Just see the blog post. We're not quite to the point where I'm going to spend the money to go to Podbean and get promoted. We'll get there. I just don't think I have enough content yet. So you see a podcast post, just hit the play button. That's 90forchill.com again. You can find me on Twitter at Main Event Zombie, where I'm going to keep doing my desperate pleas to get my pro wrestling low budget zombie comedy out of developmental hell. If you can help, just send an email to rustthebus07@gmail.com. I get all the spam. I know what's good, what's not. Well, thank you very much, Kodiak, for coming on.
Thank you for the invite, man. It's been a hell of a good time. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, well, that's the most important thing on my end. So 90 for Chill. It's basically, unless you're gonna build a franchise, keep your story simple. Don't go too long. If your story's good enough for 90 minutes, you'll get your sequel, and then you get all the time in the world. So thank you again, Kodiak, and I will see you sometime down the road.
I look forward to it, man. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Thanks.
Now available on video cassette.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human.
If you saw how scared and angry and desperate he is.
I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a very nice person, too, when you saw her socially.
No!
You're afraid to be destroyed and recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
I want to know what's going on.
What does the disease want?
Wants to turn me into something else. Oh no. A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone. Don't go back to it.
Could be contagious.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Help me. Help me.
Hello and welcome to 94 Chill, the podcast. This is Russ Stevens. My guest this week is the Jurassic Jeff Jezebel, Rory Stevens. She's been on numerous podcasts inadvertently at such conventions as TARDIS, something about the Elefranians, what have you. But we're not about that good doctor. We're about, we're in a roundabout way about Dr. Malcolm. So, but I'll let Rory explain who she is a little bit, and then we'll get rolling on the Jeff Goldblum's 90-minute affairs. And judging that he's a sci-fi icon, I think after 4 nights of movies from him in the sub-97-minute field, I think he's earned that extra half hour. So, what's up, Rory?
Well, I wouldn't say it's numerous podcasts. I pop up occasionally when I'm at Chicago TARDIS that people do record podcasts there as panels or in passing, and sometimes they'll have me put in a few words. And I would like a chance to plug my friendship with the online friendship of sorts with the guys who do Jeff Golblum, A Complete Works podcast, which is a spin-off of their main cast, Mike and Mike Go to the Movies. You might have heard of that. Because I'm on Letterboxd, and I write under the pen name Poetic Critic. And fairly early on, they end their episodes, because they're going through the whole Jeff Goldblum filmography, including all the bit parts. And they end each episode, part of it is they have Letterboxd reviews. They read off some. I was one of the only people who did reviews for the movies Threshold and Rehearsal for Murder when they got to the turn of the 1980s. And when I found out about that, I got in touch with them after they did their episode on The Fly. And not long after that, they made a point of bringing up the Poetic Critics review. They only refer to me as that at the end of each episode when they do the rundown. And with a few of the movies they did at the turn of the 90s, including at least one I think we're going to discuss in a little bit, I was one of the only people who wrote a review for that movie. It's sort of a story arc of sorts, how obscure some of these films are as they saw it.
Well, just that you told me there's an entire European Goldblum leading actor that, I mean, geez, Tarantino could probably make a movie about that. I mean, that's pretty much what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood ends up being. So, now I'm with Rory in person, so we're going Rollerball 75 here. No time limits, no disqualification, no penalties, and, well, I'm going to keep it clean, so a little bit of penalties, but otherwise, last person standing. And as Roy was discussing that turn of the 90s stuff, well, before we get to that, let's just get to probably the pinnacle of sub-97 minute Jeff Goldblum. And I think it's appropriate because last week with Allie, asked her to watch the Videodrome review. So let's go right to the Cronenberg stuff and go into The Fly. Now personally, more of a... I I'm finding myself being more like Drew McQueenie from 80s All Over and numerous controversial screen drafts. He's also written a couple of the Masters of Horror anthology series, both directed by John Carpenter, and I would totally recommend Cigarette Burns. That was just brilliant. Probably the last great thing Carpenter does, and that reminds me, I still gotta go and pick up Ghost of Mars. That's really my first in-theater Carpenter. Probably my only in-theater Carpenter, aside from reissues.
So. Right.
So, but, I don't know. For a Cronenberg movie, I'm so used to the shock being right off the bat. You know? Videodrome, you got James Woods watching torture porn. History of Violence, you get the child, I know it was off-screen, but murdered right off the bat, and you really don't get that. You get 20 minutes of fine exposition, rather innocent, and it gets intense in the end, and I appreciate that. But I don't know, maybe there's just so much great stuff you get done with Brundle, and Goldblum's performance is excellent, that I could have used a little bit less Ronnie.
Oh, I think Gina Davis helps make the movie what it is. You need to have somebody very strong to play off of. I've come to like Gina Davis quite a bit. Last year I was working through a bunch of her movies, and she is still working, but it's in smaller, more obscure projects. Unfortunately, that happens a lot with actresses.
Too much teeth to gum ratio, I think Stewie Griffin said.
Oh,
well, I was going to bring up also that you've seen damn near the entire Roger Ebert must-see film list.
I still have about 65 to go.
65 to go. I mean, still, I'd be doing a Peter Griffin on that one. And he's dead. 1 point Peter. So, no, it's, you see, I guess it might be my issue with the character of Ronnie, and it's not really an issue. It's a very fleshed out, full character.
Yeah.
Is that I know way too many relationships that it may have been a little too authentic for me, because my first experience came from a girl who had just been in a father type relationship, and that's what you get with her and Boren, and then she goes to me, who was completely innocent. So maybe it just hit a little too close for home. Or like on a podcast I listen to on the Ringer Rewatchables, they bring up a question later on about every movie. Could this be remade into a 10-episode Netflix series? And I think there's enough with Brundle that we could have done that.
I don't know. I like that, and I've said this a few times to friends, is that what you get in Jeff Goldblum's character arc in The Fly is the sort of thing that it would be like in one 140-minute movie now, superhero movie. It's the kind of arc that you'd only be at the end of the first act. Now, it's one of the things that makes it so impressive is how much it gets done in that 97 minutes. It goes through a character arc that could not have been easy to play, because it goes through a lot of extremes on his end.
Well, I guess we go back to Videodrome. I mean,
you see some of that with James Woods' character.
Right. Cronenberg's just an excellent at that.
He's a great actor's director. A lot of actors do some of their best work with him. No one can deny that.
I mean, he's pretty much given legitimacy to Ryan Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Sorry.
No, that was very helpful. I liked Cosmopolis is one of my favorites, but I liked Maps to the Stars more than I think a lot of people did.
Mm-hmm. But thinking about Cronenberg, at least from an acting level, I mean, he's maybe the best part of Jason X. I want him squishy. And You know, what did Jeff Goldblum think, though, as Cronenberg plays the gynecologist? And basically, like, well, I'm supposed to be acting like I'm getting a view of your girlfriend's hoo-ha.
That's great. Actually, Gina Davis was the one who requested Cronenberg play that part. Because if you're going to be in that position on screen, might as well have some... It might as well be the director.
So it's kind of like how Tarantino and Dario Argento like to have their hands in a bunch of the murder sequence where you don't see the killer's face.
Right.
Alright, so, let's see. I think I've covered everything I've got about The Fly.
I was very impressed. We're talking to...
you have any other thoughts on The Fly that you want to give?
Well, it's hard to think of anything I can say about The Fly at this point that a lot of other podcasts haven't covered. Because just about any even mildly known 80s movie has been discussed on like a zillion different podcasts at this point. There's a whole bunch of excellent podcasts out there that have covered The Fly. There was one, trying to remember the name. The Projection Booth, I think it is. They did a 3-hour plus episode on it. And they even interviewed the key producer, Stuart Kornfeld, who passed away last year. And he had some interesting stories I can remember. There are a lot of great stories about The Fly that are worth hearing. If you haven't seen the documentary Fear of the Flesh, which is on the more elaborate DVD and Blu-ray releases, you really should. And the Cronenberg commentary track on the DVD is very good. Everybody's got great stories about that one. I do think it is Goldblum's best performance. I think everything goes back or forward, if you look at his early work, to Seth Brundle, in that it was a lead role where he got to display everything. They talked about this on Complete Works too, in a way that I know Malcolm in the Jurassic Park movies is the most iconic of his roles, and a lot of people have seen Independence Day, or more recently Thor Ragnarok, which now seems to be one of the canon Goldblum titles, it seems, in terms of how well that particular character's known. But I think Seth Brundle is the defining Jeff Goldblum character.
I would agree with that. I mean, when you look at the Grandmaster, he's really just Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, he was allowed to improvise a lot.
Right. So, from Cronenberg, I'm going to just do a little curveball here before we get into what this next movie I have listed fourth. We might just jump to it now. Before I get to Mad Dog Time, I watched Mad Dog Time on ScreenPix, and when I was done with the on-demand, I came at the end of Robot Jocks. And I know they brought it up on Screen Drafts, the Stuart Gordon draft.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's been, maybe 5 years since, probably close to 7 years since I saw Robot Jocks via Netflix DVD.
Right.
And I don't know why I did not remember the chainsaw junk from one of the bots. So, it's kind of like, where were I know where the balls were on Michael Bay with Transformers, but come on. Those are nothing compared to the Chainsaw Willie. That's just a sub.
This is what I meant about keeping it clean.
We're PG-13 at worst right now. I'm not going into too much detail about Stuart Gordon's best known works being Castle Freak. I'm waiting for that DVD to finally arrive. Reanimator and From Beyond.
Right. I've seen those. I still have to get to Robot Jocks.
It's definitely worth a watch. I mean, I don't know if it's number 2 like Screen Drafts ended up having it, but I digress there.
No.
But
now, what movie did you want to get to?
Well, we might as well, since I brought up Mad Dog Time, might as well go into that one, which is Interesting premise. Well, I don't know if we really have much of a premise in it.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it's a film directed by Larry Bishop, who I thought, he must be a character actor if Tarantino cast him in Kill Bill Volume 2, or how he got to direct, and I think Tarantino probably gave money to that project, Hellride, in about 2008. No, he doesn't really have that great a resume. He's a interesting character actor, and I'm surprised he doesn't have much of a resume. But as a director, like, he just wanted to be cool. It was almost like he was doing a Tarantino knockoff with
this was the mid-90s. This was the height of Tarantino knockoff film, although this one does skew older in the cast than most of those appear to.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I mean, Richard Dreyfuss, there's some great performances, or at least acceptable performances.
I really liked Goldblum in this
Goldblum was good. Richard Dreyfuss,
he carries more in the movie than I expected he would.
Yes. I guess my issue with the Goldblum performance is, until we finally meet the real Nick Falco, and that Richard Dreyfuss might actually want to kill him, for sleeping with his girlfriend. He suddenly turns from suave gunslinger to Jeff Golblum.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting change. I mean, Gabriel Byrne is going for broke. It's definitely he wasn't, which is weird when you have the beginning of the film talking with his little monologue about the Big Bang, and then he turns out getting, his fate's not great.
Right. The whole idea of the alternate universe is clearly so all these people, we can have all these gangsters doing gangster things, but there's no one to stop the gangsters. I mean, that's what it is.
All right.
I mean, there's apparently no law enforcement in this alternate universe and all that.
I guess you'd say you got the same thing going on with Hellride, which
I haven't
is
seen that.
Well, I mean, if you want the definitive Vinnie Jones performance outside of Bullet Tooth Tony from Snatch, that is it.
No, Mad Dog Time was, as I put in my review, it's an oddity. It has the where, what, when, how, why, but not the who. It's people doing things for 90-something minutes.
Yeah, it's... I do appreciate anytime Billy Drago gets almost mainstream work. I'm going to say that. Dreyfuss is perfect, I think, in his role. He delivers it very well. Ellen Barkin, there's just... I guess this does bring me to a note I had in general about my Goldblum binge.
Yeah.
Too much Goldblum shagging. I mean, there's a lot of it in The Fly, more than I thought there was going to be. And then, so the character's sleeping with sisters, and there's one bit, though, and you don't see anything, except Goldblum's butt in The Fly. But there's one scene where it implies that he was shagging Ellen Barkin right next to the coat check, just standing up, which the math doesn't make sense, the height differences, what have you, never mind, you have the coat check window right there, and there's somebody working. It's just kind of surprising me that Larry Bishop, took another 12 years, got another movie, and he's basically trying to do Tarantino.
Well, Ebert, famously detested this movie.
Oh, I did not know that.
He said it was the first, it's one of the most infamous things he ever wrote in a review was, this was the first time he'd seen a movie where he would have rather been a blank screen for 90 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah. Because at least he'd have his thoughts. He could just have his own thoughts then.
So is it worse than North then? Because I hated this movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
This is from a guy who's seen 4,000 movies.
Well, he did say it was bad enough that it should be turned into... They should take the negative and turn into ukulele picks for the poor. It is definitely down there with North and how vicious the review got. Dang. And I can see why it drove him nuts. I don't think there were any positive reviews for it. It was pretty notorious at the time for this tiny little thing that, you know, probably didn't get outside the big cities. I don't think it's that terrible, but a lot of it came down to that I liked Goldblum that much in it, because there's a lot he can carry.
Well,
especially when he gets a lot of screen time like that.
I guess my last thought on that, going over my notes, is Kyle MacLachlan sucked in the 90s when it came to the big screen. I mean, we're not talking Twin Peaks here,
right.
And I'll give it. I have not seen Fire Walk with Me, but I'm presuming it's awesome. It's David Lynch's Twin Peaks. David, mother loving Bowie. Okay.
Its reputation has gone up over the years. It
Oh,
got pretty roasted when it came out, but over the years it's gone up. It's made it to the Criterion Collection.
Oh no, I know that, and that's why I don't question its quality. I'm just saying, Kyle MacLachlan. All right, look, Kyle MacLachlan went from Mad Dog Time to antagonist in Showgirls. Have you ever seen the Indie Sex IFC documentary back in the good old days of IFC?
I think I've seen some of it.
Okay, there's a bit where one of the talking heads on it. All right, I am now going to impersonate. I am now going to reenact exactly the pool sex scene from
everybody's
Showgirls.
Everybody's got a joke about that one.
So, all right. So you know what? I don't know. What do you think would end this bet on a good note? Because we got Shooting Elizabeth. Well, I guess we could just go and take the easy way out and talk about Annie Hall. But we got Shooting Elizabeth, and I've got The Year of John Lovitz. I mean, he was in everything in 1996.
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
All right,
we can discuss Shooting Elizabeth first.
All right. Well, I understand. You're going to definitely know more about this and probably have more affection towards it. I mean, I was basically saying this is a Jeff Goldblum, crappy marriage with Mimi Rogers.
Yeah.
Decides that he's got to take control. The thing he really wants to do is kill his wife.
Right.
And he eventually wises up, but there's too much circumstantial evidence.
What happens is she disappears before he can do the deed.
Well, he was going to chicken. He chickened out by
yeah.
that point, but, you know, she decides to leave him.
Unfortunately, the problem is that not only has she disappeared, but he got so far along in his plot that there's now a bunch of stuff that suggests he actually was responsible for it. So the last stretch of the movie, he's trying to clear his name by tracking her down, but she seems to have gone completely off the grid.
And perhaps we needed more Mimi Rogers, Jeff Goldblum to make this movie work early on. Because it's all for Spanish actors pretty much otherwise, and he just doesn't have, there's no chemistry with these actors for much. Like, the best scene is the drinking the water and telling the producers it's crap.
Mike and Mike had it when they covered it for Complete Works, is that given that it does get a bit maudlin by the end when you find out that there was an unfortunate event in their past that contributed to the marriage going sour, the movie can't quite pull that off. But I think it also ties into the fact that this happened a lot. I know on 80s All Over, Drew McQueen and Scott Weinberg got tired of these middle-aged white guy movies about guys with insatiable libidos.
There was that was a great bit during this, like, are you impotent? I don't know, we're not having sex. I could be.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a guy who wants to kill his wife. It's not about his libido.
Well, at the same time, it is asking the audience to
sympathize
with someone very unlikable,
and I will give Mimi Rogers credit. Up to that point, she is very unlikable. It's easy to like Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, you can believe that they don't like each other, and that does make it fun to... I think what Goldblum does pull off in the movie is it's not easy to take a character that you have to for this kind of comedy to work, you have to want to see them win, but you also kind of want to see them get what they've got coming to them. And it's very hard for these kind of movies to stick the landing. And this one doesn't quite, I don't think it quite does that. The ending does feel a bit messy. Although I do like the last lines when you're talking about keeping the gun around.
Yeah.
That goes a little darker than maybe an American production at the time would have.
Okay. I'm surprised it was an R, because it really, language-wise...
It is pretty mild for an R, isn't it?
Yeah. But this was not the lowest iTunes Rotten Tomato meter purchase I've made. That still belongs to Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. I kept trying to give that movie a chance. Big Mila fan. I mean, the graphics were equal to video games at the time. And so I understand that. But it does remind me that Hellboy, the Neil Marshall remake, which has to be awesome. It's Neil freaking Marshall. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was holding it. I have a copy of it on iTunes. It's gotta work. It just has to work. David Harbour, Ian McShane, in nothing but crankiness after the role. That usually is gold when it comes to Ian McShane. But I don't know. I said to you that it needed people who had chemistry with Goldblum to work. It's like basically Goldblum doing a Woody Allen movie without an ensemble cast.
That's a good way of looking at it. I think you saw it a lot when you see movies with American actors and they're basically with hero casts. The other day, because this was recently on Tubi, I'm working through a lot of 80s movies and especially Canon Group Holdings. And one film they have is Roman Polanski's Pirates from 1986.
Whoa, okay.
And that one is led by Walter Matthau. And
alright.
Virtually the whole rest of the cast is British and especially continental Europeans. And it is factoring into the movie not quite working is that all these actors don't quite gel as an ensemble, and that could be an issue with Matthau being the only named performer in the cast, really. It's a very dull movie. Canon only picked it up.
That's interesting that you say Roman Polanski, because
it's an odd pet project of his, a comedic, down and dirty sort of pirate movie.
Okay, maybe.
It's a weird pet project that took a long time to get made.
Alright, maybe he should have been extradited then. If that's your pet project, because I'm a big fan of the Ghost Rider that he directed 10 years ago with Ewan McGregor. There's no such thing as a bad Ewan McGregor movie. I will find somebody to blame for any reason, and the Ewan McGregor movie ends up bad. Right. Michael Bay, I'm looking at you.
But going back to Goldblum, as I said, he did a lot of movies in Europe at the turn of the decade. It started with the fact that it wasn't like there were a lot of leading roles for him even after The Fly, because he was just a bit too quirky. And one of the first films he did after those were stuff like Beyond Therapy, which is the only time he played a lead for Robert Altman. And it's still one of the worst films he was ever associated with. He really tries. He's the best thing about it, probably. But it's not a very good movie. And then there was the flop that was Vibes. That was a big studio film. Although I like that movie and think more people are coming around on that, at least being an enjoyable bit of fluff among all the Romancing the Stone, Ghostbusters type knockoffs, because that is basically what that movie is a combination of. And Earth Girls Are Easy didn't do very well either, but that at least was liked even at the time.
Which
people are coming to like that too. If they would, Lionsgate would get off their butt and do a Blu-ray, I'm sure there would be a ton of pre-orders. That's one of my favorite Goldblum movies as a whole. I also think it's one of the best things Gina Davis ever did. But that had a rough time getting to the screen. Like, that was one of the last films that De Laurentiis's studio had greenlit, and they had to find another distributor after they went under. Much like Bill and Ted did.
Well, thinking about De Laurentiis, I think I might have to do a Michael Biehn episode, because Time Bomb keeps showing up on Screen Picks. It's not,
Well, that would be an interesting subject.
Yeah, I do. But you bring up Earth Girls Are Easy, and this I bring back because our good friend Anime Alley, I don't think she appreciates that nickname, but hey, it's alliteration. I'm never escaping it. Was trying to find movies to contribute to 90 for Chill, and she was just going through the alphabet pretty much, and she was looking at times. So once I told her, that's a sex trafficking movie. I think we're at least gonna get this straightened out. But she was talking about the difficulty she was having, because she was trying to say, no, Abduction of Eden is a 97-minute movie. No, the internet says 98. She sends me a photo of the box. Okay, 97. All right, I will believe that. And then I showed her on YouTube as we're watching the trailers and basically turning her off of that movie.
Yeah.
It's 3:33 at Disc Replay, Mega Replay if you were in Bloomington. Bloomington is not the most awesome one of them. But I was showing her, then we watched the trailer for Abandonment, and on YouTube you can watch the movie, which is weird. YouTube, we have all your account information anyhow, so if you want to watch this movie, you can purchase it and watch it on YouTube. And you can see that distributors just choose the round down, it looks like, on the boxes.
Right.
But long story short,
too late. That's an old joke.
Yes, I can't recall the movie I know it's from.
It's
from Clue.
Yeah. There's a ton of people have used it.
It's an interesting app, the Clue game for iTunes.
Huh.
I don't know if it's worth the $4, but it keeps us busy at work. Should the ceiling for 90 for Chill stay at 97 minutes with the occasional 98, just because I ended up writing a review for it 10 years ago that I found in my notes and put on my website? Should we go and bump it up to 139? 140. You hit 100, you done screwed up. You might as well call yourself 2 hours, because that's what the first thing we think of is 120 when you say 1.
Right.
So your opinion on that, is 97 a good mark?
95 to 100 minutes does seem kind of an ideal length if you're making an adult-oriented production.
Okay.
There are plenty of shorter movies, of course, especially in the earlier generations, like going back to the 1930s. It was common to have under 90-minute runtimes. Most of the Universal monster films were considerably shorter than 90. And I prefer shorter movies on the whole. It's not that I haven't enjoyed longer movies. Of all the movies I've really loved, the longest one being there is about 2 hours 10 minutes, and that's a rare exception. I generally do like stuff more in the realm of maybe 70, 100 minutes.
Well, 70, you're just 5 pages shy. I'm not going to defend that. And I love Velocipaster, which seems to be giving me a lot of love online. It is my YouTube review of Velocipaster. When I think about videos now, I'm thinking about, my video review, blogs with video reviews get more hits than blogs where I just write. You think the written word is dead?
I don't know, but it is frustrating. It's not something you can really go into it as a career anymore. I do think it has hurt criticism. I'm with those who say that as much as I like a lot of the online reviewers out there are many good ones. It's been a very mixed lesson.
All right. Well, I guess. Go ahead.
Well, we want to steer this back to the Goldblum thing.
Okay. Well,
what we're shooting Elizabeth falls into the run of the Euro movies, you could call them, though some of them were just made-for-TV movies. Like, he did some made-for-cable stuff, like Framed, he did with Kirsten Scott Thomas. But a lot of them did seem to get him over to Europe, usually the UK or France. And a lot of them were kind of along the lines of this light, enjoyable fluff. Shooting Elizabeth's like one of the last of that certain kind of farce that kind of died out in the early 90s.
You see, when I'm thinking about that movie, I think, like, come on, have a little more nerve, a few more accidents. Let's go to Splitting Heirs level here.
Right. That's a good comparison point, that kind of a movie. Or Once Upon a Crime, or Blame It on the Bellboy, which I watched because I'm a Dudley Moore fan, but that is a genuinely painful film.
Yeah.
Especially for the talent it has.
Yeah, I know. I've tried some real crude statements like, if you only would have died of alcohol poisoning, a little more commitment to the role of Arthur, and we could have been saved a decade of what? We got Milo and Otis and the Santa Claus movie.
Roughly, for a lot of people. But with some of the other films he did in that period, he did one genuinely great, at least one genuinely great one, was the one that kind of kicked it off, was Mel Smith's The Tall Guy, which is the first Richard Curtis screenplay. And the film debut of Emma Thompson. Plus, it's got Rowan Atkinson. For some reason, it's completely out of print in this country, at least.
That one sounded like...
And it's terrific.
All right.
And it does feature 90 for Chill recommendations.
Yeah, I do like that.
And the fact that it is short really helps it. And he did that. I found this out from the Complete Works podcast because in 1988 there was a famous writer's strike in Hollywood and he didn't want to cross the picket line. So he sought out some work in England, and that kind of snowballed into doing a bunch of leading man films over there. And most of them were, as I said, were comedies, framed as like an art forger who has to collaborate with his ex-girlfriend on a con after she appeared to betray him. That one ran on HBO. There was Favor to Watch and The Very Big Fish, which it's kind of two plots running by the end. One is about Bob Hoskins having to impersonating a guy and winning Kristen Scott Thomas's heart in the process. But Hoskins' character takes religious icon photos, and he winds up running into the Goldblum character because he was Thomas's almost lover. The backstory is an extended flashback that's kind of Goldblum's big sequence in the first half of the movie as to why. And then when they cross paths, Hoskins crosses paths with Goldblum afterward. He turns out to be the exact person he needs to play Jesus in these photos. And things snowball from there. He goes into some surprising places. I think the plot with Goldblum's side is more interesting than the romantic deception side. But it is an interesting little film. Again, it does fit in 90 for Chill restrictions.
Oh no, it definitely caught my eye.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's also one that where Goldblum doesn't really rely so much on dialogue. And he can be very good in roles that don't require him to speak much. Another one, probably the most famous after The Tall Guy, just because of the log line, is Mr. Frost, which is too long for 90 for Chill by a few minutes, if I recall correctly. The log line is, this is the one where Jeff Goldblum plays Satan. Be more specific, he's a serial killer in a European institution who deigns to talk for the first time in 2 years to a psychiatrist played by Kathy Baker. And he tells her that not only is he actually Satan, and she's a non-believer, so between that and her profession, she's already skeptical, but also that he's specifically come to Earth in this particular guise to make people believe in Satan again. And she's key to how he's going to do that. It's a very good film, could have been great. Definitely shows more of the Euro influence than some of the others do, although there are a bunch of fairly well-known actors. And Vincent Schiavelli has a minor part near the end that's kind of comes at random. But that one is another one you can't find on DVD in this country, at least. I think it's available in Europe. What else did he do in that period? I think that covers the most of what he did in that stretch. And right around the time he did Jurassic Park, he did a TV movie with Forrest Whitaker called Lush Life, which is about jazz musicians in New York, and that's a charming little film.
Oh yeah, the white guy doing jazz movie. We know how that works out.
They're both doing jazz.
He's Jewish anyhow.
No, actually,
that's more of an ant. Sorry for my misunderstanding of Volatile Mermaid on Twitter. I know you disprove that white Jewish thing, but sorry, my apologies. She's an excellent follow. I think her handle is Oh No She Twin. But I guess this is a awkward segue to another Jewish actor, John Lovitz, and as I say, 1996 may have been his year. An uncredited role in Matilda, the short For Goodness Sake 2, which I can't get too much off of the internet about. I know it was directed by Trey Parker, so it definitely has promise. Mm-hmm. But, and of course he had High School High. Was High School High better than The Great White Hype?
I've not seen High School High, so
I thought it was one of the weird trips where I have my driver's license and Roy wanted to see a John Lovitz movie and
I don't remember that.
It's interesting. Very Tia Carrere. Yep, she pretty much. Okay, but Tia Carrere. She pretty much had True Lies in the Wayne's World movies.
Yeah.
I mean, and Lilo's Big Sis.
It's true.
But but The Great White Hype. This seemed like a movie that was completely improv.
Well, they just covered this one on Complete Works, and the original idea was that it was going to be an improv film. I mean, the co-writer is Tony Hendra, along with Ron Shelton, and Hendra was.
I didn't even take the time to look at the writers. Ron Shelton, great sports movie writer.
And the original concept was going to be more of a mockumentary, because Hendra, if you're not familiar with the name, he was a British comic writer and performer. He's probably best known for playing Spinal Tap's manager. That is what you would recognize him from. But they originally came up with this script as sort of a mockumentary, but during development, and especially after they got Reginald Hudlin to direct, the idea shifted a bit. You do definitely see signs of the original concept in the film, especially in the early sequences where the Goldblum character's filming that documentary and he's shooting the breeze with characters outside the MGM Grand.
Yeah.
Well, give me something to cry about.
Yes. Great quotes in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun movie. It doesn't quite work.
It's fun. I love the cast. That is a pretty fun cast, and you see a bunch of people he's worked with before or would work with again, like Damon Wayans, worked with in Earth Girls Are Easy. Mm-hmm. Samuel L. Jackson, who he'd been working with. That was another film in that turn of the 90s period that he did in this country called Fathers and Sons. First time he worked with Samuel L. Jackson. And they get a bunch of scenes together in the movie, too. Mm-hmm. That's a bit of a weird one. But it's fascinating subject matter, and the performers are definitely having fun.
Yeah, and I look at my notes, and as let's say, and this comes from somebody who's been in the professional wrestling business and have gone and exploited myself in the boxing ring as well. Yeah. It does. I mean, it only works, I guess, because the profession, is so heartless.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work from a writer's standpoint.
No, it's unfocused. A lot of scenes go on too long.
But it's exactly what it is. Exactly what everybody who we're not exaggerating when we tell you if you ask somebody about tales from the wrestling ring or the boxing ring.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a profession where my trainer Danny Daniels said the most important lesson of professional wrestling is everything is a lie.
Right.
The pain you show, the emotions, the money you make, everything's a lie. Mm-hmm. And the Great White Hype does deliver that kind of feel. So
it understands what it's doing. It has some interesting things to say. It does capture that particular time in boxing.
Oh,
like I guess in the original drafts, it wasn't so much parody of like Don King. Mm. In fact, originally Hendra Watt was going to play the promoter character.
Wow,
so you can kind of see where there was a lot of shifting as it went into development.
They just had to write him out of the Spinal Tap universe.
Yeah.
Because I checked, okay, this is because they just couldn't get him to do the special, right? It's not because he's dead. So just checked out IMDb. Right. Tony Hendra is alive and well. Right. Or as alive and well as you can be in England with COVID. It's super disease.
But with Great White Hype, I couldn't say I liked the movie, but I do agree. It's a fun movie. And I do like... It does have a feel for its time. It's always interesting to see how Vegas gets represented on screen. Because it's very clear. They just shot a lot of it in the city. Mm-hmm. I recognize, the decor at the time at the MGM Grand, what that would have been. And as a Goldblum movie, I do think that's a pretty interesting character arc he has, not to go into spoilers. Mm-hmm. But that was kind of surprising, but it was also interesting. And he plays it well, and it fits the larger themes. And he gets some great sparring in with Samuel L. Jackson, too. Mm. And, Jackson, that's a pretty great role for him.
Oh, yes.
That was one of his first big roles after Pulp Fiction, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I just know, really, I think the only place that was advertising was FX. Mm-hmm. And during the Living Color replays.
That's true, but that's because we were watching a lot of that at the time, so.
Well.
But coming as it did in 96, and this is right before Independence Day, too. It was like a few months.
Yes.
No, it's an interesting film, and I would recommend to anybody who likes these actors or likes the setting. Let me think.
Could have used some more strong female characters in some way. But
well, it's not really surprising this would be an all-guy, a boys' club thing, this milieu.
Well, when writing my pro wrestling no-budget zom comedy, Main Event of the Dead, feel free to email me at rustthebus07@gmail.com if you'd like to get a treatment or you have any suggestions on how to get this film out of developmental hell. I wrote the first script. I made the mistake of getting it copyrighted. Nobody wants to deal with copyrighted material. They want you to just pitch them something. They own it. You get a check if you're lucky. But aside from the orgy and the draft that is copyrighted in the U.S. library,
You must be so proud.
Yeah. Aside from the orgy, there's not really any female characters in the movie, and I caught that as I was writing up treatments for the next draft. So I can definitely tell you that there's way people just have to take the time to write, to figure out how do I take off this character's willy and take off the hot dog and replace it with a taco.
Can I hear a wahoo?